Will this give the league more returns, or do they need to incentivize touchbacks to the 35 or further?
Yeah, we're going to do the best thing we possibly can for the Green Bay Packers to have a chance to win a game. And that's all I have to say about that, on kickoff and kickoff return. Honestly, going to Brazil is exciting. You get to play. I'd much rather play them in Brazil than play them in Philly. You're not going to Philly a lot of times. So this will be exciting for our team to go there and to have this opportunity to play there.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
Electric question and answer there from our special teams coordinator, Rich Bisaccia. That question was, let me zoom in and see. It was a Wildy length question, as we talked about yesterday. It was about a 25, 30-second question, and the answer that Rich Bisaccia gave. If you didn't catch what the reporter was asking, and I don't know who it was, the reporter's like, so with these new kickoff rules, adding this and taking away that, is the league trying to incentivize more kickoffs? Do you think that's what they want to see? Do you think there should be more kickoffs? And Bisaccia hit him with it. You know what? Whatever's best for the Green Bay Packers, whatever's best to help us win, that's what we're going to do. It's like, all right. Well, what a ringing endorsement. What a great teaser for what we're going to do later on in the show. We're going to hear a little bit from Jeff Hafley, Rich Bisaccia, Adam Stenovich, who all spoke with the media earlier today. And normally, I don't hawk press conferences that much on this show. If coaches say something interesting, we'll listen to it. Or if coaches say something that pertains to things that we're already talking about, we'll listen to it and we'll get their input. We'll get their side of the story to help kind of color our opinions and color the discussions we're having. I think the press conferences this week are a little bit more useful and more important maybe than normal because we just settled on a 53-man roster. So this is the chance for beat reporters, print media, television, the people who were there in these press conferences up in Green Bay to ask about roster decisions. Like Rich Bisaccia was asked, how do you get a new kicker worked in? How do you work with, does that change things in the battery, the long snap, the holding, the kicking? Christian Welch now gone. That was a big special teams guy. Talk about that, right? So this week, I think the press conferences, and we got Goody to speak as well, which only happens a couple times a year. The press conferences this week, a little bit more useful than normal because they pertain to roster cutdowns and roster decisions. And we spent a lot of time talking about roster cutdowns and decisions so far this week. This is the Wisco Sports Show. My name is Grant Bills. Glad you're here. Thank you for listening. Brewer game was quick today. Brewers held up their end of the offensive bargain. They scored a lot of runs, and for the most part, the Giants were 3 up, 3 down. That half of the inning, the top halves of the innings today went very, very quickly. So the game wrapped up quickly, and we have a full 2 hours, which I'm excited. We're still going to do a little bit of a de facto Brewers postgame. We haven't really talked as much about the Brewers the last couple of days, so that's perfect. We'll do that to start the show. And then as we kind of cover all of our bases, no pun intended, we'll switch over to the Packers probably an hour or two, hear a little bit from the coordinators and continue some discussions that we've started and continued to have all the way back at the beginning of the week since roster cutdowns really kind of solidified and the season starts to crystallize with the opener now a week from tomorrow. The NFL's opener a week from tonight, but the Packers opener a week from tomorrow night in Brazil. 608-321-1670, text and call. You can tweet me at Wisco Grant. You can comment on the live stream. Looks like we're okay on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. I'm not getting any angry comments that you can't hear anything or you can't see anything. So we're good. We're off and running. How about Aaron Savali, ladies and gentlemen? Let's start there tonight. He delivered another gem today. And I saw our friend, or I guess my friend, he technically works for a competing radio station. So maybe he's not our friend, but he's my friend from college. I saw our guy, Hunter Baumgart, pointing out about an hour ago that Aaron Savali has an ERA of 1.45 at American Family Field since joining the Brewers. He's been awesome. Now, a lot of that was today. He was brilliant today. He pitched 7 shutout innings. But was it a week ago Friday, the beginning of the Cleveland series, where I came on the radio a couple days later and said that was his best start as a Brewer. And then Montas against St. Louis delivered his best start as a Brewer. Like these two guys, Montas and Savali, have really rounded into nice, consistent innings eaters, which is, I think, why they were acquired. They acquired Savali because it's like, look, we just need a competent starter who we can trust to not get bounced from game after 2 1/3. Right. And then they acquired Montas. And, it depends on who you ask. I wasn't too high on Montas because he really wasn't having all that great of a season. They acquired him because it's like, okay, this is a sturdy guy who can eat innings and help get us to the finish line this year. Playoff starter, maybe, maybe not. We'll see. I think both Montas and Savali, especially after the last 2 or 3 weeks, not only have shown themselves to be quality, competent starters, but guys that can win you games. Like what Montas did in St. Louis last week, that won them a game. What Savali did against Cleveland won them a game. Now, I don't know that the Brewers were going to be denied a win. Their offense provided power. It provided doubles. It put the ball in play. They small balled their way, though they double stealed their way to a run. That scored, I believe, is Contreras stealing home. That's not really how it went, but I think that's how it was scored, or that's how it showed up on the ballpark app, which was a little misleading. So they scored runs in all different facets today. They won 6-0. It was a very well-rounded performance. Aaron Ashby was brilliant in relief in the 8th and 9th, and we will talk about that. But Savali was awesome today. And Savali and Montas now have gotten to a point, at least in their last couple of starts, where they're not just, adult. Like I say, it's nice to have an adult in the room, right? Like it's just nice to have an adult in the room. In college, maybe you've experienced this. This is a very specific reference that maybe some of you will be like, huh? Maybe you'll shake your head at this. And maybe some of you be like, I know exactly what he's talking about. If you had friends in college who would occasionally dabble in psychedelics, mushrooms, acid, right? If you had friends that would really trip you, you kind of enter another dimension when you're on that stuff, right? And when people do that, you always hear people say, well, you gotta have a trip advisor. You gotta have someone who's not tripping. You gotta have an adult in the room. And that adult in the room doesn't have to be the most responsible person in the world. It doesn't have to be the most mature button-up human. It just has to be someone who's not tripping balls, right? And I think when Montas was acquired and when Savali especially was acquired from the Rays, it's like, hey, I don't know that this guy is the best pitcher in the world, but he can be an adult in the room. We can trust this guy to eat more than 3 innings per start. Maybe not the most mature, responsible adult, but at least he's not on acid, right? Montas and Savali have now graduated past adult in the room status and now gotten to a point where we can actually, I don't know about expect, but hope for plus level performances. Savali, again, with a 1.45 ERA at American Family Field. I looked up the attendance right before the show started because I wanted to be able to reference it. There were 30,000, there were almost 31,000 people at the ballpark today on a Thursday afternoon. I know what day it is, I swear. On a Thursday afternoon. And I mentioned this, the very limited Brewers discussions that we've had this week, I mentioned it a couple times. It's going to be fun to see the crowds and hear the crowds and experience the environments. There's only a couple homestands left. There's only so many games left at American Family Field. We're now chasing a pennant, chasing a division, chasing a playoff spot. The crowds should be great, and I think they've been awesome. This team plays a lot better at home, and I think Savali, if you just look at his recent results, been a great example of that. So tip of my cap to Savali and to Montas as well, who was pretty good on Sunday. It was one inning that got a little messy because I think CB Buckner, I don't know if he needs LASIK or he's just a bad umpire to boot. But they've graduated past adult in the room status to guys where we can hope for next level starts like we, used to be able to do with Freddie Peralta. And we've been able to do with guys like Colin Ray and Tobias Myers the last couple of weeks. It wouldn't be the Wisco Sports Show. My name wouldn't be Grant Bills if we didn't talk a little bit about what Aaron Ashby did. Now, I thought Ashby was good on, Sunday? He came in relief in Oakland. And I joked with Kurt Hogue on Monday of the Journal Sentinel. It's like, yeah, the Brewers lost the finale. They weren't able to complete the sweep. But when you think about it, I mean, they lost the game, but Aaron Ashby's back and looks really good. He's throwing 97, 98. The breaking stuff, he commanded a little bit better today. It was disgusting. The zone was big. Zone was big last night, too. But when I'm up 5-0 or when my team up 6-0 today, I don't care. Let's get it going. Call strikes. Make them swing the bat. So a little easy for me to say when my team's in the lead and not trying to mount a comeback. But Aaron Ashby was awesome today. And I am a majority owner of Aaron Ashby stock. He looks like a nasty guy who can provide relief. Here's where we stand at the bullpen currently, okay? Devin Williams is your closer. Behind him, McGill is an option. Koenig, between you and me, I've kind of been waiting for the other shoe to drop with Koenig. He looks better every time he goes out there. Like, he's been great. He's been awesome. Payams has been excellent. I know he had a hiccup the other night. That'll happen. Not even Yoel Payams can be incredible every time he goes out on the mound. So that's the back end of your bullpen, those 4 guys, right? Williams, Koenig, McGill. I just jacked up something on the live stream. Hold on. I fat-fingered a button. Well, we'll figure that out. Whatever. For the radio audience, they're like, Grant, we don't care. And now I just made my face disappear. So we'll just leave it like we'll leave it like that for now. On the live stream. Whoops. Bill did that earlier today and he was struggling to get it back. So I'll deal with that in a sec. But we're talking about Aaron Ashby. Back into the bullpen, right? Williams, Koenig, Piamps, and McGill. Those are your 4. At this point, we're looking to improve on the Bryce Wilson, Joe Ross spots. And I am very confident, very, very, very confident that this version of Aaron Ashby can be an upgrade over either Ross or Bryce Wilson. I don't know that that takes a ton. I also think that Mizorowski or Yoho, probably Mizorowski, could be an upgrade over at some point, hopefully before too long. I would like to see him replacing that Joe Ross role. Then you have 6 guys in the bullpen, and I'm pretty excited about all of them. I'm excited about every single one of them. So I'm very much looking forward to the way that they probably expand the bullpen and throw what I believe to be better arms in Ashby, and then, take your pick, either Yoho or Mizorowski, probably Mizorowski. But Ashby was awesome today. Really excited to see him come back and work back from that injury. It seemed like maybe it was a lost cause, but all the credit in the world to that guy. So that was really excited to see. One more Brewers thing that I wanted to mention. This was on my mind after last night. So this isn't necessarily commentary on today. This is something that I started thinking about last night, but William Contreras is now hitting the ball hard and he's elevating the ball. We've seen a power spike in the month of August. He's really found his home run stroke, right? He's been hitting the ball hard all season. He hasn't done probably as good a job as he would like, or Brewers fans would like, with elevating the ball, hitting it in the air. And I keep talking about this lineup minus Yelich and how perfect it is. Like, Terang Churio, awesome 1-2. Contreras Adames, awesome 4-5. Now, they don't have a 3-hitter, but Contreras, since he started hitting with power, makes so much sense as a cleanup hitter. And Adames, with his streaky nature, makes so much more sense in the 5 than he does in the 4 or the 3. A big part of Contreras making sense in the 4 is him having some sort of home run threat, which he kind of lost. He was still liable to hit home runs, don't get me wrong, but in the month of August, he's really found it. If you look at Baseball Savant, okay, and I'm not the best person in the world with this kind of stuff. I'm also not the worst. I can hold my own fine enough with baseball advanced statistics. I'm going to put a screenshot up on the live stream for those of you who are watching. If you look at William Contreras's baseball reference, or not baseball reference, but Baseball Savant, he is among the best in baseball at just about every advanced hitting metric. xWOBA, expected batting average, expected slugging, exit velocity, barrel percentage, hard hit percentage. He's in the 93rd percentile of hard hit percentage. He hits the ball just about as hard as anyone in Major League Baseball. He hits it hard, okay? And if you're looking at the live stream, that is signified in all of the red. The farther to the right and the brighter red those numbers are, the better. The right side of those graphs are the upper percentiles of the league, okay? Contreras is tops in just about every advanced metric. He's not great in whiff, but he's also pretty good at chase. So like he whiffs on some pitches, but he hits the ball really hard and he doesn't chase a lot of bad pitches. And he takes a lot of walks. So I'm not even worried about the whiff percentage. I can live with that. Really, the only weak metric in his advanced batting metrics is launch angle / sweet spot, which is a metric that combines launch angle and sweet spot. That number registers when you hit the ball hard, and Contreras does 93% of the time, and you elevate the ball at a good launch angle. And I can't remember exactly what angle, but it's a range. If you hit it higher than this and lower than this. So William Contreras hits the ball hard. He hasn't elevated it enough this year. His launch angle by month, and this is in degrees, March and April, 6 degrees. May, 9 degrees. That's better. June, 1 degree. He hit the ball on the ground for the entire month of June. July, 6 degrees, a little better. August, 11 degrees. That's closer to that sweet spot. That's in the Goldilocks zone. And if you hate launch angle and you think it's a crock, okay, whatever. But here's his home runs by month. 5 in March and April, 3 in May, 1 in June. He hit 1 home run in the month of June. That's his worst month in terms of launch angle. He's hitting the ball on the ground all month. July, he hit 2 home runs. And in August, he's hit 7. His home run totals this season correlate with his launch angle. He's started to actually elevate the ball in the month of August, which is going to lead to more home runs because hitting the ball hard, that's not a problem for Contreras. That hasn't been a problem all year. He's hit the ball hard every step of the way. It's getting air under the ball that's been his issue, and he completely lost it in the month of June. He was hitting ground balls and line drives along the ground. This month, he started to elevate it, and you've seen the numbers. You've seen the home runs. And the Brewers are going to need that to continue because they can't rely on Adames to consistently provide power. That's why he's a 5-hitter, right? When they get it, when he's streaking, he's awesome. When he's not, again, not a guy that you can count on. Yelich obviously isn't in the lineup. Churio can provide a little power, but he's also 20. And Hoskins, I don't really know what to do with Hoskins. Let's push that. We'll do that next week. I'm not doing the Hoskins thing today. But they need Contreras to provide that power. He has this month, and the Brewers have been scoring, and he's been the perfect number 4 hitter. And a big part of that is because he's elevating the ball, which has been a problem, especially in the middle of the season. He was doing a good job early, kind of lost it in the middle. Now he's elevating the ball again, the best he has all season long in the month of August. He's hit the ball hard all the way through. That hasn't been an issue. The angle with which he's hitting the ball, that's really improved this last month, and you've seen it in his power number. He's got 7 home runs in the month of August. We can continue to talk Brewers. Would love to get your thoughts. 608-321-1670. We're going to get to the Packers and hear from some of the coordinators that spoke to the media today as well. It's the Wisco Sports Show. Your thoughts next. We're back in 3 minutes.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
the Wisco Sports Show, a little bit of a de facto Brewers postgame show. They win the series today, comfortably winning 6-0 in the rubber match. And shout out to Aaron Savali for performing and helping the Brewers win today, but also for eating 7 innings because they burned just about every good bullpen arm they had last night, securing that win. And they got a doubleheader coming up tomorrow. So the bullpen getting a much needed, I don't want to call it a total rest day today. Aaron Ashby did have to pitch the final 2 innings. Is Aaron Ashby their best reliever? I don't want to get over my skis, but he's definitely back. So Aaron Savali going 7 innings today after the bullpen usage last night and the doubleheader coming up tomorrow. I'm not sure today could have gone much better. Gio and DePere texts in, commenting about CB Buckner. Says, Buckner, I hardly know her. That's good, Gio. Thank you. That's excellent stuff. Matt in Chippewa Falls says, Garrett Mitchell 2 for 3, home run, only 1 strikeout. It was not lost on me that they attempted the double steal while Garrett Mitchell was at the plate with 2 outs. They're like, well, we might as well try to get this guy home because we don't feel great about Garrett Mitchell putting the ball in play. And he didn't. Now, he had a hit later, and he did hit a home run, but that just because I'm a nihilist Brewers fan, as most Brewers fans are, like that's the at-bat that sticks in my mind. Thank you, Matt, though. You're absolutely right. Big moment for Garrett Mitchell. Hopefully that kickstarts something. I don't know what, but hopefully it kickstarts something. This text from Rodney in Chippewa Falls, new texter. We kill it in Chippewa Falls. It says, fun fact, Las Vegas odds for Brewers win total this season was 76, and boom, we still have a month to go. I had the over, like taking corn from blind chickens. I've never heard that one before. I'm going to write that down. Let's take a call, 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, it's Uncle Packer.
Uncle
I wanna
Packer.
talk
Hey.
baseball. No fishing, no football. Man, I watch a lot of these games, and I'm impressed. I'm so happy. This has been a great year. You know, we started out with the manager thing, and that's gone. And we lost our best player, and we have this rookie coming up that we gave a big contract to. He looks really good. He's just this happy kid. I love the way we're playing. I love this aggressive style, stealing bases. Bryce Terang is so good. I like this team a lot. And if we get hot hitting, I love that. I love the aggressive running. It just makes me so happy. What are we, 2nd or 3rd Major League Baseball with stolen bases?
Well, and I think
great.
today is such a good example, Uncle Packer, of why the Brewers are fun, but also why I think they're a nice, well-rounded team that's winning a lot of games. They had a home run, a sacrifice fly, a double steal that netted a run, Churio doubled, which scored 2 runs, and then Contreras with 2 outs, I believe, later in the game, or that was in the 4th. Yeah, the later in the game. The last time they scored was in the 4th. Contreras just putting the ball in play, not trying to rope it, just sneaking it through the infield. They score in all different ways, Uncle Packer, and that's fun to watch because variety is the spice of life, but it also makes them difficult, I think, to stop them because they can hurt you so many different ways.
And our pitching, I love it. I mean, we lost Corbin Burns, but all of a sudden, Tobias Myers, I think if Steens wasn't pitching, I think Tobias Myers would be up for Rookie of the Year or some kind of honors, maybe even in the Cy Young. He's done really well. He's just a rookie. He came out of nowhere. And we've got guys going in the 7th inning like today. I hope our pitching holds up. I hope nobody gets hurt. McGill did great for the Airbender. And now we've got Aaron Ashby back.
Yeah.
I'm holding my breath, man. I think we're going to be okay. Pyop's got the one dinger out of the way, and I hope he doesn't give up anymore. It's going to be a good year.
Yoel Pyamps. What's that, Uncle Packer?
Yoel Pyamps. It's going to be a good year. I just hope we don't lose the first 2 games of a 3-game series.
Well, yeah, there is always that. That could always bring this all crashing down. That could suck. I agree. Uncle Packer, I appreciate it. They are very close to having, I think, the best version of their bullpen. And everyone's got to stay healthy, and everyone's got to continue to perform. But they've had this, I don't know that I want to call it a 4-headed monster. I think that's a little dramatic. But their top 4 relievers, I all trust to a certain degree in leverage situations. Williams, Koenig, Pyamps, and McGill. Now with Aaron Ashby back, he can scoot Bryce Wilson to the side, please and thank you. Now if they want to bring up Mizorowski or Yoho or whoever, they have 6 guys. They have 4 leverage relievers, and then Mizorowski for middle relief if they bring him up. And now with Aaron Ashby pitching the way that he is in middle relief. So they have 2 guys that can provide a little length, and then 4 guys that I trust in leverage. And when I say trust, like, yeah, okay, Koenig could give up a big hit or Pyamps could, but the way that the Brewers are constructed, again, this team's never going to be perfect. They're never going to be the Dodgers. So for this team, this version of this team, I think this bullpen is the best that it's been all year. I think it could get even better come September 1st if they want to call it Mizorowski or Yoho. Both have been performing at a really high level. And that means 4 leverage arms and 2 arms that I really, really like in middle relief to give you an inning or 2, as Ashby did today. And how valuable was that? Right? Savali helped the Brewers win today, but again, eating 7 innings and then Ashby eating the other 2 to give all of those leverage arms the day off before a doubleheader tomorrow and after last night when they all had to go, which was a little frustrating considering I think they were up at one time. Weren't they up 5-0 to have to use Williams and McGill and Koenig and Payant? Like that's a little frustrating. And by the way, I can't remember 100%. Maybe only 3 of those 4 went last night, but I know at least 3 of them. I think all 4 of them did. So for all of them to get the day off today, going into the doubleheader tomorrow, I think this series wrapped up the best way that it possibly could after they were just 1 or 2 swings short on Tuesday night. I mean, again, look, this is why this Brewers team has been so consistent. And this is why they've basically been able to hold their lead in the division wire to wire. They win 2 out of 3 just about every series. Now, they occasionally lose a series, but then they bounce right back. They never lose more than 2 or 3 games in a row. And even the series where they only win 2 of 3, even the series in which they don't sweep, you can almost always look at that third game and say, man, if 1 or 2 things had gone differently, they could easily won that one too. They easily could have won on Sunday in Oakland, if not for a couple of close pitches and a couple missed opportunities on offense. That's a game they easily could have won. They easily could have won on Tuesday night. Hoskins had 3 or 4 swings, just a little bit, just a touch different on the bat. Those are home runs. Or Churio with the bases loaded, giving one a ride to the warning track in center field. That easily could have been a home run. Like, that's the mark of a good team. And it makes perfect sense why the Brewers have been able to lead this division wire to wire, is because they consistently win series. They consistently win 6 of 10, 7 of 10, right? They're just always winning more games than they lose. And even in the games that they lose, they don't get blown out. They're right there. And Pat Murphy, I think, takes a lot of pride in that. It's something that he's mentioned multiple times throughout this season. We don't get blown out. Even in the games that we lose, we're right there. They could have won on Sunday. They could have won on Tuesday if just 1 or 2 things had changed. And, you know, that can be a double-edged sword. You could then say, well, what about their losses if 1 or 2 things, or what about their wins if 1 or 2 things goes differently? I really feel that way today. I guess you could make the case last night, but that was a game that for the most part they had in control. There was a couple moments where I'm like, man, 1 big home run from the Giants, but that's also because the Giants seemed to do that against the Brewers. Tuesday night was a good example. Ball was flying on Tuesday night, but, you know, the Brewers had a couple just near misses on the bat. Could have been home runs where they, again, could have won that game. They could have won Sunday. They could have won Tuesday. They were right there. Jared in Manitowoc says, Gio and DePere must be doing psychedelics again. Hope he's with an adult. Buckner, I hardly know her. That's good. That's good, Gio. We're in midseason form. Did the Cubs play today? Did they play tonight? The Cubs yesterday were down. What were they down? 10-3. And they came back to it. The Pirates throw that whole organization into the ocean. Throw them into the sea. Like, what a joke. They move O'Neal Cruz to center on a whim. They're like, yeah, we might move O'Neal Cruz to center. And then all of a sudden he's in center. Okay. That organization is. This is why when we're doing predictions in the NL Central, you got to consider the Cardinals. You got to consider the Brewers. And with the talent that the Cubs showed that they had last year, and I believe an upgraded manager, you got to consider the Cubs. I do not and will not. You can't make me consider the Reds and the Pirates. I don't care how much young talent they have. I don't care their trajectory. They're just not serious organizations. And the Pirates, how many times do they need to show you that? How many times do the Reds need to show you that? 608-321-1670. Let's take a call, then we'll take a break. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Oh man, you mentioned Cubs. I got to call in.
Did they play tonight, Matt, in Cross Plains? Or are they off today?
No, they have a beautiful Thursday off, and they're in the nation's capital to take on the Nats tomorrow, the Walgreens.
That was a heck of a win yesterday. Heck of a comeback by your Cubbies yesterday.
Yeah, and I was just laughing at Cubs Twitter because, you know, most fans there just jump off the bus every 2 pitches, and guys were like having these posts on Facebook about, oh, what a terrible managed game by Counsell, and then I would, send them back after the game. I'm glad you shut it off because you missed a good comeback, 11 unanswered runs. So it was beautiful. It was a beautiful game to watch.
What's wrong with the Pirates? What is that? How do you cannot lose a game in which you have a 7-run lead? You can't.
No, you most definitely cannot. I don't know. It's just the curse of the Cubs versus Pirates. I think it's the Ian Happ effect, I like to call it, because everybody hates Ian Happ as a Cubs fan, or at least the idiot Cubs fans hate him. But he just rakes against the Pirates. So that every time the Cubs play them, I think that's part of the reason. Every time the Pirates play everybody else, I don't really know. They just don't know what they want to do with themselves. That's it, pretty much.
They never know what they want to do with themselves. They have talent. Again, that's never the issue. Skeens, you guys knocked up Skeens for a couple runs yesterday. And then that wasn't even enough until all of a sudden it was. Like that was an entertaining game to watch. I wish it wasn't the Cubs, but I was entertained watching it yesterday at work.
Yeah, we Cubs are hanging around. We'll see what happens the next 6 games. If they win the next 6 in a row, you know what happens then, Grant? It's wild card time. Come on.
Wild card time.
Go with it.
Imagine it.
Brewers versus Cubs.
Imagine the Cubs at American Family Field for a 3-game wild card series. That would be electric.
Yeah, it would be, and I'm sure the Cubs would lose because the Brewers have their number in the postseason. So it would be electric, but I think the Brewers would still win, honestly, just because that's just the way it's gone.
Well, I hope so.
Anyway.
You never know in one of those series. That's the point, right?
Yeah, but most people have written the Cubs off, and I choose to watch pretty much every single game that they play, just like you do the Brewers, because you're a fan and you also cover the team as a big J journalist. So you gotta cheer them on no matter what, even when they lose.
I agree, man. That's an excellent call. I always love that you pick up the mantle when the Cubs are mentioned. I appreciate it. Maybe we'll keep this discussion rolling. I just got to get a break in. You're not wrong, by the way. Uncle Packer mentioned Tobias Myers. That's replacing Corbin Burns. Corbin Burns got knocked around by the Dodgers last night. Maybe we need to have a little bit of a Corbin Burns discussion. Not a long one, but we can at least mention it coming back, and we're going to get into the Packers as well. It's the Wisco Sports Show. More of your calls, your texts, your thoughts, as we kind of cover all the Brewers things that we need to cover. We've kind of neglected them this week with a lot of Packers news and the roster cutdowns and all that stuff. So we'll trend towards the Packers. Any final baseball thoughts we'll get to next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Aaron, when you think back to that start you made in Philadelphia in early June to now, the role obviously is different, but how different a pitcher are you? Like how much better do you feel? How much different do you feel than way back when?
Yeah.
3 months ago.
Yeah, 3 months ago. I mean, it feels like a long time ago. The grand scheme of things, it's really not. I do feel different, but there's not, it's mainly the physical stuff. Kind of after All-Star break, I don't know, those 3 days, came back, we were in Norfolk, and I didn't have a great start there, but I could tell I was able to pull down on the baseball for the first time. And so after that, it was kind of just take that and run with that feeling of pulling down and through the fastball. And then obviously results were sporadic, good innings, bad innings. And then kind of after moving to the bullpen here, just had some successful shorter outings. It's been good to build on.
You tell people buy stock in Aaron Ashby back with a force this year.
Yeah, that's the idea. So, that's what we're shooting for.
2 exchanges there with Brewers pitcher Aaron Ashby. The first, the longer one, was an hour ago, not even. Todd Rosiak tweeting that clip out, and I appreciate Todd doing that. You can see the full clip, and please support his work. Follow him on Twitter and read his stuff at the Journal-Sentinel. That second clip that you heard was me at spring training, asking Aaron Ashby directly, would you recommend people buy stock in Aaron Ashby? And what he should have said was, no, wait about 2 months because it'll seem like I will never be able to be a good pitcher again. Then buy stock when it's even cheaper than it is now. And it was pretty cheap in spring training because I asked Pat Murphy about Aaron Ashby. He's like, yeah, I hope he makes the team. That'd be great. It's like, ooh, that's not the answer that I thought I was going to hear. But yeah, it's in spring training. That feels like so long ago. I guess it wasn't, but it's crazy the turnaround that Aaron Ashby's had. You tell people buy stock in Aaron Ashby back with a force this year.
Yeah, that's the idea. So, that's what we're shooting for.
608-321-1670 if you would like to join the show. Probably final thoughts, parting shots on the Brewers for the night, and then we'll switch over to Packers. Their coordinators met with the media earlier today. Going to hear a little bit from Rich Bisaccia, a coordinator who we've talked a good amount about this week with a brand new kicker and Matt LaFleur. I don't want to say Matt LaFleur put him on blast. So I tweeted out this clip last night. I'm on Twitter at Wisco Grant. I tweeted out this clip, this question and answer from Jason Wilde and Matt LaFleur. And well, I'll play it for you. I played it a couple of times last night, but I'll play it just so you know the one that I'm referencing. We'll talk about this. I tweeted that out last night at 5:30. And my thought was, Matt LaFleur seems a little like, that's why I have a special teams coordinator. You can talk to him. And maybe in that answer, you could detect a little frustration like, yeah, he's supposed to be taking care of this. And yet, and I tweeted that clip out. It's got 98,000 views, 29 replies, 15 quote tweets, 378 likes, and 54 bookmarks. And what I've learned is that everyone has a different opinion on Rich Bisaccia, on Matt LaFleur, on the way that they're supposed to work together and coexist, the way that because my takeaway on this clip is matched by some, but not matched by everybody. Everybody had a different reply to this clip. So maybe we'll talk about that. We'll revisit it in hour number 2. But final thoughts on the Brewers, final thoughts on baseball. If you have anything to say, would love to have you. This person says, I have a hard time hearing your guest. I don't have a guest on, just me. If you're talking about the audio clip that I was playing, yeah, it's a little muffled. That was Todd Rosie. Blame Todd. Todd recorded crummy audio. No, go watch that video on Twitter. He had like an extended conversation, 2 minutes or so with Ashby after the game. He looked excellent. During that last commercial break, I threw a graphic on the live stream. And it's funny because Uncle Packer referenced this earlier on in the show, about 15 minutes ago. It included a screenshot of a statistical comparison, and I'll put it back up for those of you that are watching to our simulcast audience, not our radio audience. Sorry, but it's a comparison of statistics between Tobias Myers and Corbin Burns. It's a stat head comparison. You can do this between players at baseballreference.com. It's a nice feature. And Corbin Burns is better in a lot of the categories, but not by that much. Corbin Burns has provided the Orioles with a WAR, a wins above replacement statistic of 2.2. Tobias Myers has provided the Brewers 2.1. He has appeared in 27 games for the Orioles. Tobias Myers has appeared in 21. Corbin Burns has started 27 games. Tobias Myers has started 20. Corbin Burns has covered 164 innings. Tobias Myers has covered 108. Corbin Burns has a record of 12-7. Tobias Myers a record of 6-5. Tobias Myers' ERA is actually better, and by 25 tenths of a point, I guess. I'm no mathematician. Corbin Burns has an ERA of 3.23. Tobias Myers has an ERA of 2.99. Corbin Burns has a lot more strikeouts, but his strikeouts continue to go down. He's got a higher strikeout percentage by 1 percentage point. Corbin Burns is striking out 22% of his hitters. Tobias Myers is striking out 21%. Tobias Myers has walked fewer hitters and has a lower walk percentage. I guess that's not true. He's got a 6.4 walk percentage. Corbin Burns has a 6. My point, and if you could see this on the screen, it would be very clear. And hopefully by reading all of those statistics, I also made it clear. They haven't been the exact same player, but they've been pretty close. They've been a lot closer than you would hope if you were an Orioles fan. It's like the Brewers should not have just been able to bring in a guy like Tobias Myers to basically be Corbin Burns. Eat a lot of the same innings, strike out more. Corbin Burns' strikeouts continue to go down, down, down. Now, it doesn't bring me any joy that Corbin Burns is not like crushing it. I have nothing against Corbin Burns. I don't. I wish him nothing but the best. I hope he gets a massive contract this offseason. I hope it's the Cubs that give it to him. I have nothing against Corbin Burns. But since we brought him up, I want to talk about Corbin Burns for just a minute. And I'm going to start posting some show clips occasionally on Twitter and on our YouTube page. I'm going to post this. So chat, clip this. This is my biggest regret of the last couple of years. Let's say post-pandemic, this current era. My biggest take regret. One take that I wish I could go back and have back. My reaction to Corbin Burns versus the Brewers in arbitration. It's my biggest take regret of the last couple of years. Because when that whole thing went down, I came at the Brewers pretty hard. I said, man, if you're going to be an organization that doesn't extend players and that trades them for spare parts, maybe before their contract runs out, and those are shrewd, smart things for a team like the Brewers to do. But if you're going to do that, you need to be good with the people. You need to get the personal stuff has to be good. And I was mad. I said, we're going to nickel and dime Corbin Burns over $750K. I made a stink about it on the radio for days and days and days. And I really wish I could have that one back. Because Corbin Burns didn't have to go to that arbitration meeting. And the Brewers were right. His strikeout percentage drops and his performance dips the second half of every year. Corbin Burns, don't go to the arbitration meeting. Send your agent. It's what you pay him for, or her. I don't know. It's 2024. Anybody can be an agent. I don't know. Send your agent. Stay with your wife on Valentine's Day. I really wish I could have that take back. It bothers me. Corbin Burns was a pill. All right. His energy in the locker room was not great. I don't know that he was always the most selfless teammate. I'm not asking guys to lay their careers on the line like CeCe Sabathia did in 2008. But, man, we're also trying to win playoff games. I wish I could go back. I wish I could have that take back. I wish I could have that take back. Because if Corbin Burns couldn't handle $750,000 and a tough back and forth in an arbitration hearing, then how am I supposed to trust him to handle starting a game in an all-star series? How am I supposed to trust him starting a game against the Arizona Diamondbacks in an all-star series when the offense gave him the lead twice? And he blew it twice. As long as Corbin Burns is getting mentioned, that's my biggest take regret of the last couple of years. I wish I could have that one back. 608-321-1670. Let's take a call, then we'll take a break. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant, I'm glad you finally came around to the Corbin Burns take.
Cone, I didn't know that you were the one on hold, but you were right on this long ago. You came to my mind when I first brought this up.
And I got an issue with the whole WAR stat. Okay, Corbin Burns is a 2.2 WAR. Tobias Myers was his replacement, and he's at a 2.1. So theoretically, Corbin Burns' WAR should be 0.1.
Well, I know what you're saying, but WAR measures a replacement relative to a replacement level player. So the point is Tobias Myers isn't a replacement level player. Tobias Myers is, 2 wins better than a replacement level player. I know what you're saying, but it's not it. I know what you're saying, but I don't think that's how it works. I'm no statistician, but I know what you're saying.
But that was my first thought when I saw that graphic on the stream.
Right? It is
Loving
funny.
The stream, by the way. Great touch.
Well, I like the someone, I don't remember who was tweeting it out. Tobias Myers has basically been Corbin Burns this year. He struck out more guys. Corbin Burns' strikeout totals have gone in the tank. And I'm not trying to drag the guy, but he used to play here, and I think it's worth talking about, don't you?
Absolutely. And you see some Oriole fans on X, complaining about Corbin Burns looking checked out, bad attitude, only looking forward to free agency. I mean, that's pretty much what we saw with Corbin as well after that arbitration hearing. So maybe that's just who he is as a player.
Dude's a pill, man. Like, his energy. I was only in the clubhouse once when Corbin Burns was there. One experience. I was there for a week. This is spring training. There was an energy when he would walk in or when he would as his locker that it was different than everybody else's. Like, he carried himself a certain way. There was a certain aura. Like, a baseball clubhouse, Cone, that's dudes rock. Like, that's guys being guys, right? Slapping each other with towels, throwing a dip in, playing cribbage at the table. Like, Burns was not that. He's like, I am the ace. I'm going to carry myself emotionless, right? I'm that guy. Like, the dude was a pill in the locker room. He always was.
Yeah, maybe he needed to carry that stoic mindset into arbitration hearings and not be butthurt over $750,000.
Yeah, I was wrong. I'd like that take back. I wish I could turn back time and redo that. I wish I could. You were right from the beginning, though. When I was thinking about bringing this up earlier today, I thought of you because you held me accountable when this happened. You said, Grant, I think you're wrong. And we had it out a couple times, I think, over this.
Yeah, but looks like I'm going to be dead wrong on this Jackson Churio take. So, I'll trade one for the other.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, we can't all bat 1,000. Cone, I appreciate it. I got to take a break. I don't know that you're Churio. You were never anti-Churio. You were just skeptical of giving a contract to a player who'd never played in AAA. And that's understandable. Like, that's 100% totally understandable. It's not like it was, you weren't anti-Churio. You were skeptical of the contract, which I get. 3 minutes. We're going to come back, wrap up hour number 1. We're going to switch over to the Packers around 5 o'clock here for some coordinators that talk today and get into that. Revisit some Rich Bisaccia conversations and takes, and maybe dig into this Matt LaFleur clip that I didn't really think would take the life on that it has. So we'll do that coming up. It's the Wisco Sports Show.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show. Appreciate you being here, listening. We've been reacting a little bit to the Brewers series win and, the storylines that came with the last two games, last night and today. I think lost in our discussions about Aaron Savali today and Aaron Ashby. And by the way, that's my fault. We've been so focused on Aaron Ashby, we haven't talked about the other things. Yeah, but I'm the number one purveyor of Aaron Ashby talk in the state of Wisconsin. So that's my fault. But lost, I think, in the Aaron Ashby shuffle is some of the things that William Contreras has been doing in the month of August. He's been hitting a ton of home runs. And Kurt Hogue pointed this out on Twitter last night after Contreras hit a nuke to left center. He's actually elevating the ball in the month of August. His launch angles by month, 6 degrees in March/April, 9 degrees in May, 1 degree in June. Coincidentally, only 1 home run in the month of June. 6 degrees in July, 11 degrees of elevation or the angle of launch. There's no beautiful wordsmith way to say it. He's launching the ball on average at an 11-degree angle in the month of August. And because of that, he's at 7 home runs. And you might be like, well, launching only means so much. Well, you're correct. It does. But William Contreras has basically every other piece to the puzzle this year. He's hit the ball hard as hell the entire year. And if you're watching on the simulcast, if you're watching on the stream, I put his baseball savant picture back up there. He's in the 86th, 82nd, 86th, 93rd. He's in the 93rd percentile in Major League Baseball for average exit velocity and hard hit percentage. He pounds the baseball, and he has all year. That hasn't been a problem. The problem is the direction with which he's hit the ball. He needs to get under it. He needs to lift it up a little bit, hit it up in the air and not on the ground. This month he's done that, and he's been rewarded with 7 home runs. That's necessary because the Brewers, without Christian Yelich to hit third, and with Willy Adames hitting fifth, Adames will provide some pop, but you can't rely on Adames to provide pop every single night. He's a streakier hitter, which is why he's a perfect 5 hitter. But if Contreras is going to hit cleanup like he's done so well for long stretches in the month of August, the power's got to be there, and it's been there. It's made a huge difference for the Brewers in the way that they've been able to score runs. Yeah, they can steal bases and, they can do the rope-a-dope stuff. They had a double steal today that got him a run, sac fly that got him a run. Jackson Churio just nailed a double into the right field corner. That got him 2 runs. They score in lots of different ways. This Brewers team also has the sticks. They have the manpower and the talent to hit home runs. They got to do that. They're probably not going to be a top 3 to 5 home run team in the league, but if they can be top 10 and have a great couple weeks in October, they can win playoff series. They're not going to be favored in those playoff series, but they can win playoff series. They need to continue to do the small ball things well, but also hit with power. And William Contreras elevating the ball and performing well out of the cleanup spot, that's going to be huge. It's going to be absolutely huge because I can't rely on Jackson Churio at 20 years old to consistently hit with power. You can't rely on Willy Adames. It's just not the player that he is, and that's not a slight. I think he's great sometimes, but he's streaky, which is why he's a 5 hitter again. And Hoskins, I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't want to do the Hoskins thing tonight. We'll do that. We'll do that next week. We'll do the Hoskins thing tomorrow. How's that sound? I promise. All right, hour number 2, we'll take a 2-minute break, get an update from Zach Heilprin, continue the Wisco Sports Show next.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
The Brewers took 2 of 3 from the Giants. That's after taking the 3rd game of their series 6-0 earlier today at American Family Field. Aaron Savali allowed just 2 hits out over 7 innings of work to get the win. Aaron Ashby delivered a clean 8th and 9th for the Crew. Garrett Mitchell hit a home run. Jackson Churio came through with a pair of RBI. The win pushed Milwaukee back to a season best 21 games over 500 and 9.5 games up on the Cubs in the NL Central. Manager Pat Murphy continues to be impressed with the club.
This team, as soon as you think they're, I don't know about this club. They don't have this guy. Who's this guy? They don't have enough of this. They don't have enough of that. They got enough of something because they keep posting and keep competing. It's unprecedented, I think, with the way they're going about their business. Like, this doesn't always add up, but I love what they're doing. I love how they're competing, and they're keeping it in the moment.
Milwaukee will now hit the road for a series in Cincinnati. It starts tomorrow with a day-night doubleheader. Game 1 gets going at 11:40.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Rural Mutual is the #1 farm insurer in Wisconsin for a good reason. As a company founded by farmers, they understand the ag industry and its challenges. Local agents offer farm families the best advice and personalized coverage. Visit ruralmutual.com to find an agent near you.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Packers are back in the field for practice earlier today as the process of getting ready for the season opener next Friday against Philly really starts to kick into gear. It was practice number 2 for new backup quarterback Malik Willis. He's on his 2nd team, but his 4th offensive coordinator since coming into the league in 2022. Offensive coordinator Adam Stevich says he's hopeful they can give Willis a good foundation and keep him here again. Packers open the season next Friday, and Wisconsin will get its season going tomorrow night against Western Michigan. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heilprin.
I know a lot remains to be seen with the new kickoff rule, but
You say it a little louder, please.
I know a lot remains to be seen with how teams will fare with the new kickoff rule. But what does your gut tell you? The league wants more returns. Will this give the league more returns, or do they need to incentivize touchbacks to the 35 or further?
Yeah, we're going to do the best thing we possibly can for the Green Bay Packers to have a chance to win a game. And that's all I have to say about that, on kickoff and kickoff return. Obviously, going to Brazil is exciting. You get to play. I'd much rather play them in Brazil than play them in Philly. You're not playing in Philly a lot of times. So this will be exciting for our team to go over there and to have this opportunity to play there.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
Electric media availability with Rich Bisaccia today. Long-winded question, specific question about what the league is looking to do with the new kickoff rule and how do you think teams will handle it. And Bisaccia is like, man, I can't follow all that. Whatever helps us win games, whatever is best for the Green Bay Packers, that's what we're going to do. Okay. Good. Electric answer. Thank you. Rich Bisaccia, Packers $2 million special teams coordinator. This is the Wisco Sports Show. My name is Grant Bills. By the way, that's not a criticism of his answer, right? Coaches don't have to sit there and give interesting, long-winded answers. It's just Bisaccia's been a little under the gun this week on this show, and I think that that's spread to other areas, by the way. This is something I started talking about on Monday and really picked up steam on Tuesday, and I've seen a lot of other people. That's all I'm saying. I think we've been pioneering a little bit this week on this show, at least with some of our Packers discourse. Not always. Always we're lagging behind. But we were early on Aaron Ashby, and I think we were early this week relatively on criticism of Rich Bisaccia. Let's talk some Packers. 608-321-1670. If you would like to call or text the show, would love to have you. Genuinely would love to talk football as Packers now coordinators have spoken with the media after the head coach and the GM spoke yesterday. We're a week away. Well, a week and 2.5 hours away from the start of the NFL season and 8 days. Well, 8 days and an hour and a half until the start of the Packers season when they open in Brazil next Friday night. So we could talk about anything Packers related. I want to get the ball rolling by playing this Matt LaFleur clip one more time. We played it last night. We talked about it last night. It's nothing new to this show. I have a quick point that I want to make, and then we'll start taking some phone calls. We're going to hear from Rich Bisaccia as well. I thought this exchange was interesting. Okay, we're going to play this one more. And then they continued to talk back. I heard that maybe the way that I wanted to hear that. And maybe I'm perceiving and viewing and interpreting that answer the way that I want to view and see and interpret it. And that's Matt LaFleur's thinking, man, I pay this guy a pile of money. I make him an assistant head coach. He was a legitimate head coach that took a team to the playoffs in Las Vegas a couple years ago. And this guy can't help bring a kicker along. He can't lift us to better than mid-20s in yearly special teams rankings? Ask Rich Bisaccia. That's why he's here. That was a little misplaced there. But a lot of other Packers fans, and this tweet blew up in air quotes, a couple hundred likes, a lot of engagement, about 100,000 views. A lot of other Packers fans were like, well, this is poor leadership. Here he is blaming his inferior. Or can Matt LaFleur not hire coordinators? Right? There's a lot of back and forth, a lot of different takes. So if you have a take on that comment and how it makes Matt LaFleur look or what you think Matt LaFleur's thinking when he says something like that, one more time, I'll play it one more time just to really drive it home, and then we'll go to the phones. And I agree. I think it is a question for Rich Bisaccia. I don't really hold any of this against Matt LaFleur. He went out and got the best available special teams coordinator. I don't think the guy's doing his job. He's not doing it good enough, at least. The Packers aren't seeing return on that investment, and I don't necessarily think that's Matt LaFleur's problem. So they did ask Rich Bisaccia today, and I'll play you some of those questions and answers coming up. 608-321-1670 if you'd like to join the show. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Piano Man How again. My call got cut off yesterday.
Well, what's going on, Ryan? Or Piano Man How?
Yeah, I think it was a bad reception thing, but just coming from a music creation sesh, as you know, I'm want to do. I miss having ours, by the way.
A music creation sesh. You want to have a music creation sesh when I'm in town for Oktoberfest? Maybe are you gigging at all during Oktoberfest? What do you got going on at Fest? We're gonna be a flip side. Come by for the show.
Oh, see, I don't think I have anything that weekend. I mean, we were talking about that party Thursday night I invited you to.
Should be there.
Yeah.
I'll be in town on Thursday night. I think I just have to do the show. I might try to get to La Crosse a little sooner because I don't like the idea of getting to La Crosse Thursday night of Oktoberfest at like 10 p.m. That would be lame. I kind of want to enjoy it. I'd like to tool around. Ebo and Bill are going to be there, and we got all the shows on Friday, so I'm definitely living up. We will be in touch about that. I want to make that plan. I should be able to make that work.
Yeah, let's make that plan. But yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying about LaFleur basically deflecting off that question and saying it is for Bisaccia, because it is. Matt LaFleur is the head coach, yes, but that doesn't make him in charge of everything. I mean, a head coach is not going to always have his hat involved with offense and defense and special teams. Usually it's one of the three. And John Harbaugh being a rare exception, he was formerly a special teams coordinator before becoming a head coach, and very successful. And at that, like, usually it's offense or defense. And Matt LaFleur was an offensive coordinator and a quarterbacks coach before that. And that's what the Packers usually tend to target, is a quarterback-friendly head coach. But Rich Bisaccia, we're not getting the return on investment, like you said, that we need.
Well, they're dictating roster moves to help special teams too. That's the other thing. And like Rich Bisaccia today is talking about, well, this is a kicker that I liked in college. It's like, well, wait a minute. You liked Anders Carlson, man. Like, that was a prospect he liked. So I don't know. I don't know, because unlike the Joe Barry hire, I think the Rich Bisaccia hire was a hire that just about every other team in the league would have liked to make. You know what I mean? Like, when Joe Barry was hired, it's like, I guess it could work, but this is the guy. Rich Bisaccia was the opposite of that. And I feel like the GM and the head coach have given him all the resources and literally all the money in form of a paycheck and all the players and everything that he's wanted or asked for, and he's not really paid him back.
Yeah, and the thing is too, I mean, and it's interesting you bring up Joe Barry with the point of him being both of those guys were actually on the 2002 Tampa Bay Bucks Super Bowl winning coaching staff under John Gruden and Monty Kiffin.
That's right.
They were both on that staff, and that shows you how long they've been around. And not to say this is not age discrimination against older coaches and that they're out of touch, but these seem to potentially be two examples where maybe their experience is keeping them behind the chain of, like, the evolution of the way that special teams coaches need to interact with their players. And I think you understand what I'm trying to get at.
No,
like,
I understand the tree that you're barking up. I don't know that his coaches necessarily get older. They get like, I think of Wade Phillips, who I think is still an awesome football coach. I think he's in, the UFL or whatever it is now.
White.
Yeah, Dante Scarnecchia was the best offensive line coach for like a bajillion years in New England. It doesn't necessarily mean it. But that's the thing. It's special teams, right? Like, how are you old school and principled on special teams? Like, if Mike Zimmer wants to run the football on first and second down, I get that, right? I don't know how you could be old school about special teams. You kick the ball, you punt the ball, you cover the kick, you block the punt. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
The guys got to be fundamentally sound on special teams. That's the main thing. And I think you mentioned this yesterday. I find it hard to believe that they couldn't have instead made Anthony Johnson Jr. better coached to be on special teams than to just keep Zane Anderson over him, who's purely special teams with. I mean, and he is a complete liability in coverage. You don't put him out there to play defense. Like, couldn't have Anthony Johnson Jr. have done both? And
I think so.
And then Goody was talking about how I should have been maybe a little bit more patient with, like, J.K. Scott or a couple of these other prospects.
Yeah, I didn't need to know that.
It's rare for him. It's rare for Goody to cut ties with players that he invested draft capital in. But yeah, the Anthony Johnson Jr. decision, I really question that decision.
Yeah, you were bothered by that. I don't know when we talked on Tuesday or whatever. And that's a good call, Ryan. I appreciate it. Again, I'm not that bent out of shape about Anthony Johnson Jr., but it's like, you can't take the better football player and get him to play special teams. He was asked about that today, and I don't have all of the questions and answers cut up neatly in front of me. But Bisaccia was asked about Christian Welch. It's like, what are you going to do without him? And he's like, yeah, and also now we don't have Tyler Davis. It's like, you can't be an average special teams unit without Tyler Davis. I don't know, nothing against Tyler Davis, but I mean, Ben Sims can go out there and catch a freaking touchdown. Tyler Davis can't really throw a block or catch a ball or avoid fumbling to save his life. I don't know. I don't know. And Vagabond John, if he's not on hold already, I'm sure is going to call in and be like, Matt LaFleur can't hire assistants. And that's the most important job of any coach. And I don't know. I think all other teams, all 31 other NFL teams would have signed Rich Bisaccia, hired him to be the special teams coach. I just don't think he's done a good job. I don't know that makes it a bad hire. Joe Barry, on the other hand, was a coach. I don't know that anyone was hiring him to be the defensive coordinator. I thought he was fine. But I don't know that the rest of the league would have loved to have him. That's not the case with Rich Bisaccia, which I extend a little bit more grace towards that hire for that reason. I think wisdom of the masses is a very real thing. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
This is Louie.
Louie? Where are you calling from, Louie?
Yeah. Well, I'm calling from your favorite place, Cadott, Wisconsin.
Really? Louie, welcome to the show. What's going on?
Not much. I don't know if there's any tension between Matt LaFleur and Rich Bisaccia, but his answer kind of makes it seem like there is, which if there is, why would you bring attention to it? And if there wasn't, why would you say it that way? I guess I don't know why in this world, of coach speak, Matt LaFleur is pretty well versed in that. Why didn't he say that, we thought Greg Joseph gave us a better chance to win than Anders Carlson, and then when this Narveson guy became available, we thought, he gave us the best chance. As to why our kickers haven't been as successful as we would have hoped, maybe talk to Rich. I know I'm not a kicking guru, but LaFleur's is not like he's Bill Parcells with an unruly tongue. So to me, it just kind of didn't make sense why he went that way. If he's really getting badgered about it, then eventually, to kind of shut up reporters, he might say it that way. But just to kind of, if he answered it that way, I would have assumed like Brian Gutekunst was asking him the question. I don't know, talk to Rich why the kicking doesn't work. But
yeah,
when you're in front of the media and you got 20 people looking to make, I'm not vilifying the media types, but when you got to fill content and put stuff on Twitter and all that, you're going to draw attention to every word. So, what do you think? There's actual tension between LaFleur and Bisaccia?
No, I think coaches will look to get out of answering any question that they can. I don't know that his tone was that strong. I think I isolated that clip because it kind of backed up some of the things that we've been talking about this week. So maybe I'm trying to create a mountain out of a molehill, but then again, it's kind of what sports talk radio is all about. I don't know that there's tension, but I bet if you were to give truth serum to Matt LaFleur and get him 100% completely uninhibited and honest, he'd say like, yeah, I don't know why our special teams aren't better. They went from just about last in the league up to 22nd in Rich Bisaccia's first year. And then they went back down to like 29th last year. And Bill brought up the point earlier today, Louie, that, Anders Carlson probably weighed him down last year. That's true, but they also had Keyshawn Nixon to buoy that ranking 2 years ago. So I don't know. It's just been underwhelming, and I wouldn't hold it against Matt LaFleur at all if he felt the same way.
Oh, I agree. I just don't know why you'd want to bring, make a story out of it. That's what I didn't quite understand. Just, like I said, I personally like the content when people don't use cliches and coach speak and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I understand why they do, because it creates less hassle. Then whether there's an actual story there or not, why would you let on? That's the only thing that I didn't really get about his comment. And maybe I'm reading too much into it as well. And maybe he didn't mean it to come out that way. Maybe I'm kind of not hearing it, but it just sounded kind of snarky and like, fuck, that is a question for Rich Bisaccia.
Yeah.
In kind of a sarcastic tone.
A little bit.
I don't know if I were the coach if I would have done it that way.
Yeah, and look, he's got a little bit of a smile on his face. Louie, I appreciate you. Thanks for listening. And Cadott is one of my favorite places. Screw Cadott. No, not really, but I don't know that there was too much snark. Maybe a little. I think in today's day and age, separation of church and state between offensive head coaches and the defensive side of the ball, it's only become more polarized, right? I think Mike McCarthy did it, and it was always described and talked about as Mike McCarthy hires Mike Pettin to take care of the defense. I don't want to concern myself with it. It's your baby. I think the league has only trended more and more and more that way because more coaches that are getting hired are young, up-and-coming offensive coordinators who then sometimes rely on the veteran defensive coordinator to kind of fill in their gaps of experience. And you're basically employing a head coach who's an offensive coordinator that delegates other parts of the football team to other coaches. And I think the NFL is only trending more and more that way. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I listen to sports talk from all over the place, and Patriots media, they're going nuts because Gerard Mayo has completely and totally surrendered control of the offense to Alex Van Pelt. Like, he's the head coach of the offense. Like, well, actually, that's how a lot of the league works. It's just that people tend to care less about the defensive scheme. People care a lot about the offensive scheme. So if a defensive head coach, especially one who's coaching for the first time like Gerard Mayo, surrenders control of the offense, especially with a young quarterback, especially to a coordinator that folks probably don't have a ton of belief in, like Alex Van Pelt, okay, well, that we're going to take notice of. But McCarthy used to do it all the time. It wasn't a big deal. I don't have a problem at all with Matt LaFleur basically just passing all that responsibility off to his coordinators. I think he's hired to find candidates. I think Hafley is promising. We'll see how it goes. Rich Bisaccia is the special teams coordinator that just about every other head coach in the league would have wanted to hire. Matt LaFleur did. They ponied up money for him, which they should have, and the results have sucked. To me, that's on Rich Bisaccia. I don't put that on Matt LaFleur. I don't put that on the Packers. 608-321-1670. We'll come back. More of your thoughts. We're going to hear from Rich Bisaccia next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
It's the Wisco Sports Show. My name is Grant Bills. Appreciate you listening. Going to hear from Rich Bisaccia here in just a minute or two. about the new kicker situation and a little bit of a post-mortem, with Anders Carlson as well. And I think that's worthwhile. What was the process behind drafting him? What went wrong? Why didn't he get where the Packers thought he would eventually get to? Those types of things. We'll get there. 608-321-1670. If you would like to join the show, would love to have you. Just want to make sure I'm not behind on texts, comments. We're all caught up. Here's one that says, hearing somebody else finally draw attention to the fiercely mediocre to below average job that the highest paid special teams coordinator in the league has been doing is honestly a breath of fresh air. Well, thank you. I don't know that anyone has ever described this show in its now going on more than 6 years you've been on the air. No one's ever described it that way, so thank you. Green Bay has unfortunately been putting the special in special teams since Desmond Howard. Hopefully things improve. Go Pack, go. Look, I don't think it's costing them games. I don't think it kept them from winning that playoff game last year, and I don't think it kept them from winning that playoff game against the Niners in 2021. I understand they had a punt blocked. The offense could have scored more than 10 points. Jesus. It's Aaron Rodgers at home. Devontae Adams was on that team. Go score more than a touchdown. I'm not blaming special teams. I'm just, this kicker situation has kind of seemed like a little bit of a clown car. Brian Gutekunst cuts both kickers and then comes to the podium and is like, honestly, maybe I should be a little more patient. I don't know. It's like, are you the Joker? Listen to yourself right now. I don't need to hear that after you just cut. What I want to hear is, no, we don't have time to waste on a kicker that I don't trust. So we're going to go on and we're going to go improve that position. There you go. I don't want to hear well, maybe we gave up too early. Who knows? Excuse me. Maybe I'm not patient enough. Yeah, that's what I want to hear after you just cut the entire position group. Okay, so here's Rich Bisaccia. What happened with Anders Carlson? What went wrong? Describe the process. Take us through it.
Well, I think we all felt like, coming out, he had the ability to be a good kicker, and I still think he has the ability.
Which, by the way, I should hope so. That part should go without saying because you drafted him in the 5th round. And again, I'm not against using a pick on a kicker. It's fine. It's like, well, we all thought he could be good. It's like, well, I should hope so.
Well, I think we all felt like, coming out, he had the ability to be a good kicker, and I still think he has the ability to be a good kicker. He improved coming back from last year. He was stronger. He had some 10-day periods where he played really well, and some other periods where they were up and down to some degree, both of them. So I certainly think he's an improved player. I just think the consistency level that we're looking for wasn't reached at this particular point by either one of them. So I'm sure they're both going to have a chance or an opportunity in the league again. Just probably be a matter of time.
Okay, so Rich Bisaccia obviously still has belief in Anders Carlson. Still thinks he can be good. Still thinks he can be a consistent kicker. Okay, so I believe Wildy then asked the follow-up, and I think it's a very reasonable follow-up to ask after hearing that answer from Rich Bisaccia. Is it a risk to let him go? Talk about that, because if you think he can still be good and we don't have to look very far, look at his brother, went on to be one of the better kickers in the league for Rich Bisaccia's team once upon a time. So talk about the risk of letting a guy like this go.
I think those situations are a little bit different. I think Honors was a 3-game tryout. We went through an entire season with Honors and an off season and now through preseason. So we thought he had plenty of opportunities to increase his consistency and get a little bit better. And again, I feel like he left here as an improved player. I just don't think we felt it's at the level of what we need right now. And hopefully we're in position with the 2 guys that we have working together here now that we can find that.
So that's actually not a bad answer. I believe he misspoke. He said, look, it was a 3-game tryout with Daniel. The Vikings had Daniel Carlson for a month and they cut him. And I think that was a smart point to bring up. It's like, look, we gave Anders Carlson what 4, 5, 6 times the length of runway that was afforded to his older brother before he was cut. We gave him an entire preseason, an entire regular season, a postseason game, an offseason, a training camp / preseason. And we cut him. When you put it that way, yeah, that's a lot of time to show improvement, to show consistency. And I think now we're back to what I kept saying on Tuesday. All Anders Carlson had to do was show a 10 to 20% improvement from last year to this year, and he's the Packers kicker. And look, I understand Anders Carlson is it's his leg. He's the one kicking the ball. But I would hope that there's some slight advantage given to the team that employs what I think most people to believe one of the better special teams coordinators in the league, at least the highest paid. You're telling me that guy couldn't coach Anders Carlson to 10% improvement to 15% improvement. You know what I mean? Like I'm just trying to relate this in any way that I can. If someone started working here and they were awful at talking on the radio and they were awful at pushing the buttons and they were awful at everything, I don't think I could turn that person into a really, really, really good radio host. But 10%? Like, I think I could get him there. And I'm not the Rich Bisaccia of radio. I'm just a slap. Like 10, 20% improvement, that's not hard to get. And I think that's my frustration, is that the Packers $1 million or $2 million man couldn't give him a little bump. Not even a little. Now, Rich Bisaccia today also talked about, the new kickoff rules. I'm just kind of out on caring about that right now. I need to see how it looks in the regular season. My instinct after just seeing a little bit in the preseason is telling me that it's going to be kind of a non-factor. Like, I don't really know that I don't know that that's going to be a huge thing that we're following and talking about. And I don't know that one team's going to have a huge advantage over the other because, this special teams coordinator cooks something up and they have a great returner. And I think for the most part, it'll look different, but it'll feel the same. So Rich Bisaccia was asked about that. Not that he gave a good answer. Again, I think I saved that individually. Did you hear that? It's at the beginning of the intro. I'll play that for you. This question and answer with Bisaccia.
I know a lot remains to be seen with the new kickoff rule, but
You say it a little louder, please.
I know a lot remains to be seen with how teams will fare with the new kickoff rule. But what does your gut tell you? The league wants more returns. Will this give the league more returns, or do they need to incentivize touchbacks to the 35 or further?
Yeah, we're going to do the best thing we possibly can for the Green Bay Packers to have a chance to win a game. And that's all I have to say about that, on kickoff and kickoff return.
It gets me jacked about the new kickoff. My boss is going to come in here. Hey, Grant, man, show's numbers are down. Nobody's listening. Nobody's following. Nobody's listening to the podcast. Can you tell me a plan? How are we going to fix it? How are we going to turn this thing around?
Yeah, we're going to do the best thing we possibly can for the Green Bay Packers to have a chance to win a game.
There we go. That's the answer I'll give you. How does that sound? We're going to do the best thing for the Green Bay Packers to help us win a game. It's like, that's illuminating. And again, coaches give non-answers all the time. I'm not just picking on Rich Bisaccia here, but we've been talking about him this week. Let's take a break. 5 minutes. We'll come back. If you want to join the show, we'd love to have you. 608-321-1670. Tonight, very exciting. We're going to turn things over here, at least on our flagship in Madison, some of the other affiliates as well, for Thorson and Heilprin. We've gone from Kenny and Heilprin, Temple and Heilprin last year. Now, we still got a lot of Jesse this year. He's joining all our shows. He was on this show last night. He was on Bill's show earlier today. He's been doing Evo's show in the morning. So Jesse's still doing a ton with us. He's probably doing more with us than ever before. He does the camp with Jesse, but he's not doing the Thursday night show at Monk's in Sun Prairie. There is a new host, and maybe I'll text them and ask if they want to join me for the final 10 minutes, talk a little Badger football, their openers tomorrow night. So that's kind of what's coming up over the next half hour. We'd love to continue to talk with you as well. More of your texts and thoughts. We'll continue to talk Packers. It's the Wisco Sports Show.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
It's the Wisco Sports Show. My name is Grant Bills. Thorson and Heilprin coming up in 24 minutes. Top of the hour on WOZN, our flagship in Madison, and some of our affiliates around the state as well. You can stream and listen however you're streaming and listening now. That'll do the trick. I'm going to try to get Zach to, turn himself up just a couple minutes before the show starts. Get a little bit of a take on tomorrow night's game. We were lucky enough to have Jesse last night. We're going to have Nick Osen tomorrow night, which, Zach always gets territorial, and he likes all those guys. He's like, why are you having, so-and-so? It's like, well, Zach, because I don't like to put you out, okay? I can't win with Zach. Either I'm asking him to come on too much, or I'm not asking him enough. I'm just trying to be the best coworker possible, okay? So maybe we can connect with Zach before his show starts. They'll be live at Monks and Sun Prairie, so you can buzz over there, enjoy some food and drink specials. And starting next week, you'll have football to watch. Now, this week, you can just focus on the Sterling Badgers conversation and the food and the drink. But come next week, NFL, Thursday Night Football, there'll be some college football starting up as well. I just got a text back. They will chat with us for a couple minutes before the end of the show. It makes me thrilled. I'm very excited to hear that. How about we hear a little bit from Adam Stenavich? Spoke with the media today. And I didn't hear any of this. I didn't see any crazy comments. I'd imagine they're going to ask him about Malik Willis. And I'm interested to hear, because we all heard in Zach's update that Malik Willis now has had, 3 offensive coordinators in 3 years? I'm wondering what Stanovich's take is on that, and I want to hear what he's thinking about bringing in Malik Willis. So we'll listen to this, we'll pause it, we'll react, and this can lead us in a bigger discussion. That's what first of all, Matt Schneidman, we're leading with right guard. I don't want to. All right, sure. Okay, let's just hope the next guy. I figured we would start with the quarterback. Let's get there. What is this? Ask about the quarterback. There we go. Thank God, Pete Doherty. Okay, I was hoping there'd be a little bit more meat on this bone when I started playing this. I'm considering aborting this. I'm considering going in a different. I'm going to give this one more question and answer. I hope it's about Malik Willis, and I hope it's better than. Yeah, I like him. Okay, I'm going to make the executive decision. I thought we'd get a little bit more. Nothing against Adam Stenovich. We're not. We're gonna abort that. We're gonna leave that in the dust, like Anders Carlson's Packer career. The Emmanuel Wilson thing is interesting. This is something that we brought up. The running back group of all the areas of this team that, and we've looked to nitpick because we're all so excited for the Packers. And I think at this point in the offseason with this team, all it's left to do is nitpick. We were nitpicking backup quarterback. And as Vagabond John mentioned, like nitpicking backup quarterback and kicker, that proved out to be worthwhile nitpicking because the Packers moved on at both of those spots. A nitpick that I think maybe we haven't picked enough is running back. Now, they got a much more reliable first option in Josh Jacobs. I think that was the first part of the offseason for the Packers is our lead back, our bell cow, has to be more durable. Because Aaron Jones, what did he play, 11 games last year? Like we just can't have an unreliable running back. And it's not like a concussion or his leg got rolled up on. Like there were just a couple of instances where he was running too fast in the open field. And all of a sudden his hamstring went. Like I can't build my offense on that. I can't build my running game on that. So we need to get younger and more durable. They go get Josh Jacobs. I love that. That was step number one. Step number two was to build up the depth to a better spot than last year. Okay. Because even though we got a more reliable first option, that doesn't mean that we don't want a second and third option. And Matt LaFleur's always split carries everywhere he's been in his career, even in Tennessee with Derrick Henry. To his own detriment, at times he's split carries between different running backs. So we need a better number two, number three. Re-signing A.J. Dillon for a song. I like that. I like that move. Spending a third-round pick on a running back. I think they needed to draft a running back. We were all aware that was a need. I think that's a good use of resources. I'm not going to cry that, oh, you can't use a third-round pick on a running back. Yeah, you can. I think that's fine. And then Emmanuel Wilson is still here. So you're banking on A.J. Dillon coming back and bouncing back. A third-round pick coming and adding to your running back room right away. And you're banking on internal improvement from Emmanuel Wilson. And that's all in the depth realm behind Josh Jacobs. I like that. I think that makes sense. The problem is A.J. Dillon's season is over. Marshawn Lloyd hasn't been able to stay healthy, and when he's been healthy, he hasn't really looked all that great. So that leaves us with Emmanuel Wilson. I believe that Emmanuel Wilson doesn't really need to improve much this year. If he gets 15% better, I feel like Bill Simmons today saying, well, Anders Carlson just need to get 10% better. And Emmanuel Wilson, I think a 15% improvement from Emmanuel Wilson, just a little bit better in pass protection, a little bit better at pass catching, and maybe a little bit more dynamism running the ball. And I think he's a solid second or third running back, assuming Marshawn Lloyd can get healthy, and that's all they need him to be. So I am bullish on Emmanuel Wilson, not because I think he's some superstar, but because I think he doesn't really need to be all that great to be effective and to be what the Packers need him to be. Little breaking news. I saw this notification come up, a tweet from Adam Schefter, and I'm like, this could be Ayuk. There will be no trade. The 49ers and Brandon Ayuk reached an agreement on a 4-year extension that will contractually tie the wide receiver to San Francisco for the next 5 seasons. Per ESPN sources, the drama is over and a deal, not a trade, is in place. I stopped caring about that like 2 weeks ago. Glad they got it done, but good for them. That lasted way too long for a player. Ayuk's a good player. He's not prime Terrell Owens or Randy Moss here. Like, I'm glad that a nice solid 2 wide receiver on an elite offense, or a nice one. I'm glad that the 10th to 8th best wide receiver in football, I'm glad they got that worked out. Jesus. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Eric on I-90.
Eric on I-90, good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Excellent.
I thought it might be time for a call from Dick Briscoe, but
Okay.
you guys don't have to worry about this kicker business, all right? It's going to work out just fine, just like everything else is. In fact, I'm going to predict that next year you're going to say that this is the Packer way. You're going to have like 2 segments on it, and that everybody else should be doing it.
Well, if this kicker thing works out, I'm going to have a lot more than 2 segments
right.
about it.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's the Packer way. It's in the 3-ring binder. It's been passed down from Moses on the hill.
Yeah.
And this is the way that they do it.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. This guy's going to kick. Who's this guy you got now?
Narvesen, Hayden Narvesen, I think.
Hayden Narvesen. That's a good old Norwegian name from up in Westby.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what that is. You know, you got a good guy there. All right. And
Wait, no, that's not it. What the hell's his name? New Packers kicker.
Narvesen. That's a good old Norwegian name from Westby right there.
Braden Narvesen, not Narvested. That's a
okay.
Narvesen, not Narvested. That would be a there's farms all over the state of Wisconsin owned by Narvesteds, but not Narvesens.
Yes, okay, well I'm off base there then, so I'm wrong on one thing in a month. All right. So, all right, and do you even foresee the Packers getting to a 4th down where they need a kicker?
But probably not.
Really?
No.
Right?
Just touchdowns
I
only.
don't even see it happening. It's touchdowns only. It's touchdowns only. So I wouldn't even worry about this, everybody. I think it's going to go down in the books as the Packer way of handling kickers.
Handling kickers. And what's that? Drafting a guy, having him suck for most of the year, keeping him for the next camp, cutting him, and then bringing in a rando, and then he's great.
Somebody in that meeting said, who's our kicker? Greg Joseph?
Yes.
The Vikings thought he was good. Somebody in the meeting said that. You know, the Vikings thought this guy was good. Do you think we should really keep him? Right? And they said, no, we shouldn't.
Oh, Greg Joseph, yeah.
Yeah, you shouldn't. I couldn't believe that when that was happening. You know, he was good enough for one day. One day.
Yeah.
You know, you got to be a pretty bad kicker when you're willing to go in with no kicker at all.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I think here's the thing. They're willing to risk it on what's his name? Hayden Narvesen. Jesus. They're willing to risk it on him because he could maybe turn into their kicker of the future. I don't think they ever viewed Greg Joseph that way because he's bounced around so much. You know what I mean? They're trying to find their long-term. They're trying to find their forever kicker, Eric. You know what I mean?
I don't even care about the Packers kicker, really, to tell you the truth. So,
Of course you don't.
But it's just interesting. It's, again, always interesting radio, Grant. Love talking to you. Hey, we only got like a few days left, and it's going to be you only have one Friday left without NFL football. One Friday.
Yeah, 1 week from today, we'll be getting ready to wrap up the show and go watch football.
You're going to be. It's going to be awesome, and I'm going to be psyched up to watch that game in Brazil too. So it'll be a lot of fun. I can't wait.
Well, I'm unfortunately probably not going to get to watch a lot of that game because I have a wedding next Friday night. I appreciate you, Eric. So maybe I'll sneak into the stall in the bathroom, check the score a couple of times, but I'm going to miss out on probably a lot of that game, which is fine. I'll catch up on it over the weekend. Football can wait. It's just a football game. Weddings, a special day. Maybe the biggest days of their lives so far. I mean, probably will be. Maybe not forever. You have kids or, whatever, other life events. But yeah, I'm not going to be that turd at a wedding that's moping around because I don't get to watch the football game. But I do have a wedding next Friday night. So when we come back, I'm going to take a couple of minutes. Just make sure I'll get a couple of texts first. Coyote Mike says, Grant, should not much of the blame fall on Carlson? With all the opportunities and support he had, maybe he thought he was better than he really was. Getting cut might be his wake-up call. I hope that missing the kick in the playoffs would have been the wake-up call. If he needed this wake-up call, if he needed getting cut this week to be his wake-up call, then he's never going to be a professional athlete. Dane and Stoughton says, AJ Dillon was streaming Red Dead Redemption on Twitch today, and he said he'll discuss his injury in a few weeks. I thought he was a farm simulator guy. I am in limbo with video games right now, okay? World War III is dead. The last COD in my life is dead. I have now turned my eyes towards November and the new Black Ops. I will get it. I will play it. I have League of Legends. I have Black Ops. I don't think I have room for another game. But if I did, Farm Simulator appeals to me. AJ Dillon plays a lot of Farming Simulator. It seems like the best parts of Minecraft. I love Minecraft. I loved farming. Planting the crops. I always just loved planting crops. And what sucked is a couple of my friends in Minecraft, they're like, well, we'll just make a beef farm, with like the spawner. It's like, well, no, I want to till the land, harvest the crops, bake the bread, put it into chests. If I can't do that, then what's the point? Then we're just simulating food. That's not Minecraft. That's Food Simulator. I don't want to play that. Why did I bring this up? Oh, yeah, he was playing Red Dead Redemption. Interesting. AJ Dillon does love to stream. I might have to watch his Twitch stream sometimes. Feels like there's tea. It feels like there's details that's mentioned in there. Thank you for passing that along, Dane. Let's take a break, and we will talk with our newest hosts of our Thursday night show, Thorson and Heilprin. And if you're like, who's Thorson? It took me a sec, too. It took me a little bit longer than it should have. I'm not going to lie, but we'll explain. We'll introduce you to Thorson and talk with Zach Heilprin as well. Coming up next, final segment of the Wisco Sports Show after this.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
It's the Wisco Sports Show. Last couple of minutes before we wrap things up, we're going to turn things over here at 6 o'clock to our Thursday night show, which is back just in time for football season. Zach Heilprin has been a staple of this Thursday night show the last couple of years. You all might remember Penny and Heilbronn, one of my favorite programs. You might remember last year, Temple and Heilbronn. Now, we're still lucky enough to have Jesse with us multiple times throughout the week. Now Jesse is shared between all shows instead of just having one show with Zach. We get to hear him on Over the Line. We get to hear him with Bill. We heard that today. He's on my show on Wednesdays. And, of course, you hear him on the camp with Zach Heilbronn as well. Now we have a new Thursday night show, Thorson and Heilbronn. And we go there now live to Monks and Sun Prairie, and I appreciate them joining me just a couple minutes before the show actually starts. That is Ebo Thorson and Zach Heilbronn. Am I an idiot for sorry, Zach. Go ahead, Zach. Introduce yourself and your co-host, and then I have a question. Please introduce. Okay, well, here's the thing. Okay. So Ebo, I remember the first time I ever had Ebo on my show. This is before I met him in person. I said, "How would you like me to introduce you?" He said, "Ebo." I said, "Okay, last name. No, just Ebo's fine." And I don't think since that day I have ever thought about or really cared. Maybe sometimes when I send an email, I was Googling Thorson. I thought like Clayton Thorson, like just for a Big Ten perspective. Like I don't. It took me until like a minute left in Over the Line this morning. Does that make me an idiot? Genuinely, do you think less of me for taking that long to figure it out? Okay, well, then I know the answer. God damn it. I Googled it. Are you going to buy that? Are you going to let him? Zach, that's not going to stand. I go to cover events and you're like, dude, whatever. Like, you can't take me seriously when I try to Big J. Why are you giving Ebo this? Oh. Wow. Wow. Okay. No spin. So are you guys previewing Western Michigan tonight? Oh. Western Michigan. I've asked Jesse Temple this a couple of times. Is it like you're a journalist now, Thorson, and Zach, you're always a journalist. Like the spread's what, 25 points? I think it's come down a little bit. Like, do the Badgers have to blow them out? Like, is there a certain level of expectation? Like, it's got to be a blowout because we didn't really have that against Buffalo. Didn't feel like that against, was it Georgia Southern last year? They pulled away in the second half, but. Oh, see, that's actually a thing that journalists do that sometimes gets me. So journalists do actually do that where I'm like, well, the spread is this. And they're like, well, obviously I'm not gambling. It's like, I never said you were. Zach. Is that right?
the misnomer.
I've never seen anybody wanting to use the word misnomer more.
Well, you have never hung out with Thorson before.
Than Thorson did when we were talking.
Why
about
is
this
it a
show.
misnomer? You said that word, and that's a nice word. That's a good word in your vocabulary. Why is it a misnomer?
Because it's not what it is. What you were told it is, it actually is not. It is public perception of this air raid when in reality it is not what it is. We'll throw around a little more hyperboles later in the show. Don't worry.
I was going to say that's an exquisite breakdown. I look forward to listening on my drive home from work tonight. Maybe I'll stop by to get a beer. Probably won't tonight. This is a dangerous game because I always say I'm going to come by and then I never do.
I can hear the disdain for the Big J in his voice. I can hear the disdain for the Big J.
There is some hate. There is some hate in that voice from Grantville.
It's not an anti-Big J. In fact, I asked Zach if he wanted to J at a Packer game with me this year, and
Are you upset that I'm accepting Ebo as a Big J and I have yet to
I think
accept
so.
you?
Zach,
As
do you want my honest answer? It seems as though you'll accept just about everyone except for me sometimes. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I think that's a little unfair, but I'm at least going to take it under advisement.
And I appreciate that. You guys have a good show. I have to go. I look forward to listening to Thorson and Heilprin, Monks and Sun Prairie. Go and see him. Have a great show, fellas.
Thanks.
Tip of the cap to you, Grant.
Tip of the Big J journalism cap. Kiss my ass. That's Ebo. Thorson. We're using last names now. That's not my fault. That doesn't make me an idiot because I didn't put 2 and 2 together. You never. It's a Friday show. We're in a special little theme to tomorrow's show. Going into Labor Day. You're a parrot head. Maybe you're putting 2 and 2 together. Fins up Friday tomorrow. Never miss a Friday show. Brewers off tonight. Relax.